We will cover this whole valley from corner to corner. That was the idea.
Once more it was time. Gene Cernan and Jack Schmidt returned to the rover to drive back to Challenger.
Okay, Charlie, hold still a second. Let me get your rope push strap tie down on here a little bit. Rope push strap. Oh, it's really dead. Oh, geez, that's great. Is the lighting halfway decent?
Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the lunar surface.
Up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the lunar surface. Beautiful, just beautiful. My thunder's still on, which makes me happy. I tell you, if you could come and sprinkle the whole area with water, get rid of some of this dust. Houston, there's no dust on the probe except that which was on my hands. Okay, copy that. That must be solar wind. Okay, copy that. That must be solar wind. Okay, copy that. That must be solar wind. That's just a sample of the kind of dust we would have got, Jack. We had that at thunder yesterday. Okay.
Okay, and Jack, what's the heading say? And we'll
Expect that height you can see.
we'll get the reading we need for the nav update.
I don't know if you heard me or not, but it was perfect. So it's okay. It's just got it's got about 20% dust cover on the top.
Okay. Tell that that's okay, I presume.
Roger, flight. Sure glad you got that probe covered.
And Jack Alpha says that that's okay.
Yeah, let's see how much. Okay. I put a rock under the northwest corner. Whoop, guess what happened?
Intel flight.
Just like in training, Zero. What happened?
Intel
The old geophone cable caught on the corner.
Just flight. Keep watching the outset area here.
I'm not ready.
Somebody have requirements for that flight.
It says F4B on that. That's an airplane.
And Jack Alpha says that that's okay.
Yeah, let's see how much. Okay. I put a rock under the northwest corner. Whoop, guess what happened?
Intel flight.
Just like in training, Zero. What happened?
Intel
The
flight.
old geophone cable caught on the corner.
Just flight. Keep watching the outset area here.
I'm not ready.
Somebody have requirements for that flight.
It says F4B on that. That's an airplane. My thunder's still on, which makes me happy. I tell you, if you could come and sprinkle the whole area with water, get rid of some of this dust. Okay.
Okay, and Jack, what's the heading say? And we'll
Expect that height you can see.
we'll get the reading we need for the nav update.
Young set up an ultraviolet camera to provide the first astronomical observations from the moon. He took pictures of the Earth's upper atmosphere and magnetosphere and their interaction with the solar wind. He also photographed the interstellar gas present throughout space and the ultraviolet halos that appear around galaxies. Astronomers have long wanted
suitable site to place the scientific instruments was the next order of business. Shepard and Mitchell now began setting up the automated scientific laboratory. distance, the wobble of the Earth's axis, continental drift, and shifts of the Earth's crust. Left the lunar mantle to begin the first of two explorations.
Shutting down the ladder. Roger.
10 years later, 114 hours, 22 minutes after leaving Earth, Alan Shepard stepped onto the moon.
It looks like you're about on the bottom step and on the surface. That's it for the moment. Okay, you're right. Alan's on the surface. It's been a long way. We're here.
4 minutes later, he was joined by Ed Mitchell. After loading the lunar rickshaw, Mitchell began the journey to Cone Crater. Shepard adjusted the television camera, then hurried to join his partner.
Just about toward the center of Cone. Okay, point A, I was right. It's that point in the bottom, not the end over here. Okay, this is probably pretty good. Now it's got the back of the net now, and we're carrying it up. I think it's
Apollo 11, Houston, appears to us that we're seeing a view from outside, plus a little of the inside. It appears you've taken the camera away from the left window. Now, over.
That's correct. We're moving it back and reconfiguring for interior lighting.
Roger. We can still see the Earth through the left window, and it appears that we can see a floodlight off to the left, either that or some sun shafting through the hatch window. It's a floodlight. Now we're coming in. Can't quite make out who that is. That's Big Mike Collins there.
Well, you got a little bit of...
And Stone Mountain and the old flag. Come on out here and give me a salute. Big Navy salute. Off the ground, before. There we go. Good.
Jim, I see sort of a miniature raindrop here, it looks like. Yeah, just behind you is one of those fresh craters, too, with a lot of glass in it. Is it really? Yeah, right behind you. Okay, let's pick up these. That's just a sample of the kind of dust we would have got, Jack. We had maybe a center yesterday. Tiptoe through the tulips.
Okay, let's get started before you guys leave.
We're not going to pull the SCA yet.
Sure look like chocolate.
We're waiting on a word from experiments whether to do it here or Station 10.
A lot of glass splattered on some of these, Jack. Yep. Fractured
Up to the top.
Roger.
There's another one that fractured.
We'd like to move in from here in about 10 minutes, so we probably better be trending back toward the rover unless you're seeing something really great out there.
Well, hey Bob, we ought to find out whether or not we got what the rock is here. You got a little time.
You got 10 minutes in the ship. I'm just telling you to start thinking about getting back. Limit number.
Okay, well,
yeah, we're always thinking that way. Okay, Bob, one thing I noticed we do uncover, there's a lot of 2, 3, 4 millimeter size fragments of glass were kicking up all over the place. Yeah. Little glass balls, Gene. Almost like Paley's. Gene? Yeah. Can you come over here? Okay.
Okay, and Jack, what's the heading say? And we'll get
the white marble in the white fraction in the marble zone in 523.
Roger that. Okay.
I forgot to give you the core numbers, but I will.
Okay. Don't forget to put your little note in the long can there.
Oh, I'll get the note in there. I'll get it in there. Nobody will ever know.
And you got a number for the upper core when you get done. I guess you're probably putting the other one in the long can on you right now.
Yeah.
Maybe showing you
that's right.
Somewhere here along the line, Jack, I guess maybe when you get those, you ought to stop and take a scan.
It's a combination of battery and oxygen right there.
Okay, Bob.
Okay, and that oxygen...
Okay, Bob, the log can of steel, I guess nobody knows what's in it but me.
Yeah, it's like that oxygen line...
No one ever will, probably.
And
I may not...
Maybe more than 7.5 hours, but once you get down to Station 4, the battery is draining.
Okay. I'm all set. Okay, Bob, when I finished this up, let's see if I was on 94, I took, now I'm on 99, I took 5 more pictures back over to the Northeast. Copy that. And we assume you guys are ready to go by now. All with the lens. Yes, sir. They were all with the lens cap off. Splendid. Okay, and Jack, what's the heading say? And we'll get the reading we need for the. Okay, as long as you're happy, I am. Hey, Gene, wait. I gotta get the film changed, Jack. Please. All right, Gene, change the film at the next station. We can save time that way. All right. And we would like the set turned on before you leave, and we'd like EP number 1 taken, Jack, so you can report that at victory. Okay. I'll get your scoop for you. Do you believe in a cock like that? Yes. Of course, we haven't been taking any step measurements on all endurance things. Mark, just don't step on it.
5 EVA. Go ahead. Okay, we definitely did not configure the rover sampler at this point. He has it in his mind as an option. And we're at this stage of the game, we're we definitely did not want to configure the sampler. Being a problem, I'm sure you all recognize not to do this. Okay, experiments well.
Okay, that's what it is. Man, I'll tell you, this thing got low all of a sudden. How you coming, Jack? Hey. Did you get a fuel, Jack? Oh, no. Okay. Coming soon, though. Let me know if you have any problems with that. Oh, I will. Boy, Charlie, it looks like we could just smoke it. Stone Mountain looks like they're about 10 feet away from it. I know. You just run right over there.
Looking at the orientation of the terrain and where he's supposed to park and where the limb is in reference to the back of the rover, I would say that we're...
Stay on a minute ago.
That's correct.
Okay, 2 down. Stand by for contact. I'm going to let her down. You level off. Let her on down. Okay, 6%. Plenty fat. Contact. Stop. Boom. Wow! Oh, man. Oh, the run is finally here, Houston. Fantastic.
The original plan had called for Young and Duke to get out and explore shortly after landing. However, the near abort had lasted 6 hours. The tired astronauts would sleep. April 21. Mission Commander John Young stepped onto the Descartes formation, 11:58 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
They are mysterious and unknown Descartes. Pilot planes. Apollo. Around that crater.
This guy don't really know the camera. We're going to have to use an amp.
Young used a portable instrument to measure the local magnetic field. He would later record the most intense magnetic field ever found on the moon, far higher than scientists ever suspected.
What's that, Charlie? It's really some crater.
As you come around there, there's a rock in the near field on this rim that has some white on the top of it. We'd like you to pick it up as a grab sample.
This one right here?
That's it.
This one right here?
That's it. You got it right there.
Okay, we copy that.
There would be one more stop before they got back to the lunar module to close out this EVA. With Duke acting as photographer and Young as driver, they put the rover through a full test.
Man, you are really bouncing.
Is he on the ground at all?
That's 10 kilometers. Huh? He's got about 2 wheels on the ground. Okay, turn sharp.
I have no desire to turn sharp. Okay, here's the Sharpie.
Hey, that's great. He's a big rooster tail out of all 4 wheels. And as he turns, he skids. The back end breaks loose just like on snow. Come on back, John. Hey, the deck is running. Man, I'll tell you, Indy's never seen a driver like this. Okay, when he hits the craters and starts bouncing, it's when he gets his rooster tail. He makes sharp turns.
Then it was back to their lunar base, activate experiments, and close out EVA-1.
But before they left the surface of the moon, there would be a brief ceremony.
It's a rock composed of many fragments of many sizes and many shapes. When we return this rock, or some of the others like it, to Houston, we'd like to share a piece of this rock with so many of the countries throughout the world. We hope that this will be a symbol of what our feelings are, what the feelings of the Apollo program are, and a symbol of mankind that we can live in peace and harmony in the future.
April 16, 1972. Apollo 16, man's 5th lunar landing, sat silently on the pad awaiting its mission. Inside the astronaut quarters, its relaxed crew ate Sunday breakfast. John Young, a veteran of 3 previous space flights, was commander. Ken Mattingly, command module pilot, would conduct orbital experiments around the moon, while Charles Duke explored the lunar surface with Young. April 22nd. Young and Duke would find themselves strapped into a small electric car called the Rover, bouncing across the lunar plateau known as Descartes.
The old water bag is working super. This is going to be a good day, Charlie. Yow! Woo! Man, that was a great big skid. We're doing 10 clicks, Tony. Covered me with dust on that one.
As Young and Duke rode the bucking rover to the lunar formation called Stone Mountain, NASA geologist Farouk El-Baz wrote on a blackboard on Earth, "There is nothing so far removed from us to be beyond our reach, or so hidden that we cannot discover it." René Descartes. As John Young would later remark, Apollo 16 would certainly help prove that René Descartes was right.
Compacted. Almost like a freshly plowed field that's been rained on.
Yet, less than 2 days before, it looked as though this would never happen. It was, in Young's words, a real cliffhanger. The Marshall Space Flight Center team was working on a launch vehicle gyroscope problem that threatened to scrub the mission. Less than an hour before liftoff, their advisory to the Kennedy Space Center launch team was go. The liftoff had been perfect. During the 3-day flight to lunar orbit, the problems encountered had been more annoyances than critical, such as paint flaking off the lunar module, and later a jammed antenna in one of the lunar module's several communication systems. All in all, it had been a quiet flight. April 19th. The burn into lunar orbit was right on.
Hello, Houston. Sweet 16 has arrived.
The subsequent maneuvers all went without a hitch. Then the next day, April 20th, Young and Duke undocked the lunar module preparatory to landing, leaving Mattingly in the command module.
But we got it done. Right here, 5-9, Jim, and we're sailing free. Stand by one, Jim. Okay, we're on.
The next maneuver was for Mattingly to burn the main engine of his spacecraft to put it into a circular orbit. But as the lunar module emerged from behind the moon...
No, sir. Copy, no, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
No circ. In preparing for the circularization burn, Mattingly had found apparent uncontrolled oscillations in the main engine's backup control system. Following mission rules, he did not make the burn.
How long do you think it's going to take him to get rendezvous, Jerry?
I think your estimate of a couple of 3 revs.
With the backup system having trouble, only the primary system was known to be usable on the engine needed to get the astronauts out of lunar orbit and back to Earth. However, the lunar module engines could be used if the two spacecraft were docked. The first step in the problem-solving technique: stabilize the situation in the safest manner. Get the two spacecraft, which had separated, close enough together to dock, if necessary.
To get them back together, get the things back that they want them, get them mentally prepared to do what they're going to do.
But now, don't take that as input. I'm talking out loud. I want to say something else I'm sure of.
I don't see any way we can continue on.
At that moment, the chances for a landing looked pretty slim. But you look at a problem step by step. Step 1 underway, you look at step 2. Analyze the problem as completely as possible within the time frame.
We should make sure that that's calm, but there's no way, you don't have any other redundancy or other routes?
And in lunar orbit, Mattingly flew the command module to a rendezvous as Young talked him in.
Okay, fine. Why don't you tell me what to do there, John? Okay.
Word's coming back kind of initially from North American that they're suspecting a rate feedback.
Building 45 is Jim McDevitt.
The team was coming up to speed, not only at the Manned Spacecraft Center, but from MIT in Massachusetts to North American in Southern California. Isolate the trouble, simulate it, evaluate it.
You can't use it. If you get a broken wire, you don't know it's going to come back again.
Now, like I'm drifting the other way. Not according to my needles. Okay, I'll believe your needles.
Of course, then you would have had no options. Okay? I mean, then it's full speed ahead.
I just don't much see how we can make it on this next rev. I think you guys ought to continue to work.
So you'd only do it if you had a failure on the primary. Well, how would you ever get the damn thing trimmed then?
Well, I would, if I had a failure in a primary, I'd shut it down.
Well, we must be going in the right direction then.
Yeah, you're going to get there.
Yeah, but I want you guys to go simulate it.
Isolate, simulate, evaluate. The results were coming in. It was beginning to pay off. The simulator tests and other data were showing that with the engine on, the oscillations would do no harm. Despite the earlier pessimism, it was beginning to look pretty good.
Okay, when you come up on AOS, on the next Rev 15, we'll give you a go or no-go for another try.
Manned Spacecraft Center Director, Dr. Christopher C. Kraft, Jr. just came back into the control center after having attended a meeting by management people in one of the back rooms, and the situation is go for landing.
Well, have at it, babe. So we're going to try it.
You do have a go for another try here at PDI on Rev 16.
Once more, they would pass behind the moon. And on the next revolution, John Young and Charlie Duke would start their swift descent to the Descartes Plateau.
Okay, filter initialization looks good.
Right on. Feel that beauty? Come on. 200. Pro. Pitch over. Pitch over. And here it is. Gators, Lone Star. Right on. Call me the thanks, Charlie. Okay, 40 degrees, 38 degrees. Right Helmet on dot, north ray. Okay. Looks like we're going to be able to make it, John. There's not too many blocks up there.
Ryan, you go for landing.
So right now it looks pretty good.
Go. Go, Hunter. Okay, any words in
Still, Fred. Looking good. It looks good.
Flow rate's going down.
That comes a shadow. Okay, down at 3, 50 feet. Down at 4. Give me one click up. You're backing up slightly. Okay, 2 down. Stand by for contact. I'm going to let her down. You level off. Let her on down. Okay, 6%. Plenty fat. Contact. Stop. Boom. Wow! Oh, man! Oh, the run is finally here, Houston. Fantastic!
The original plan had called for Young and Duke to get out and explore shortly after landing. However, the near abort had lasted 6 hours. The tired astronauts would sleep. April 21. Mission Commander John Young stepped onto the Descartes formation, 11:58 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
They are mysterious and unknown Descartes. Island Plains. Apollo 16 is going to change your image.
While their activities were monitored by Mission Control, Young and Duke were also observed by scientists, located across the hall in the Science Support Room. After unloading the rover from its storage bay in the lunar module, they planted the flag.
Hey, John, this is perfect with the LIM and the rover and you and Stone Mountain and the old flag. Come on out here and give me a salute. Big Navy salute. Off the ground, before. There we go. Good.
Young set up an ultraviolet camera to provide the first astronomical observations from the moon. He took pictures of the Earth's upper atmosphere and magnetosphere and their interaction with the solar wind. He also photographed the interstellar gas present throughout space and the ultraviolet halos that appear around galaxies. Astronomers have long wanted a telescope on the moon. Perhaps this experiment would show the moon an ideal base for future astronomical observations.
You want 2 pans?
Yeah, we would like to. John said.
I'm not leaning on
Duke
it.
drilled a hole into which a heat flow probe was to be placed, part of one of the experiments attached to the station. As Duke drilled, Young set up the central station and the remainder of the experiments. Then, what many considered the biggest disappointment of the mission.
Probably just some rocks down there in the regolith, Tony. You know, it looks, I bet it's just like the side of that fresh crater we saw back near the limb.
Charlie,
What?
something happened here.
What happened?
I don't know. Here's a line that pulled loose.
Uh-oh.
What line is it?
That's the heat flow. You pulled it off.
God, I'm sorry. I didn't even know it.
Now that means you've got to make all those wires, separate wires in there, and have them insulated from one another.
That's right.
And if that doesn't occur, what are the chances of shorting out the central station?
Well, that's another one that they're working.
On Earth, they tried to figure a way to fix the heat flow. On the Moon, the astronauts continued with the other experiments. Young placed a series of sensors in the soil, then fired explosive charges, mapping the lunar subsurface much as geologists on Earth use explosives to search for oil.
4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
Stuck in the ground and I try to get it
three over there now.
They continued to sample the area and activate the experiments. Then they returned to the rover and prepared for their first trip away from the landing site in search for geological samples.
And here we go.
Their first traverse would take them about 1 kilometer west of the landing site. They would make 2 stops to collect samples and conduct experiments.
You have 10529 in your flight plan.
But it couldn't pick a better spot.
John, you're just beautiful. That is the most beautiful sight.
What's that?
You're standing there on the rim of that crater.
This guy don't really know.
You're going to have to use an amp.
Young used a portable instrument to measure the local magnetic field. He would later record the most intense magnetic field ever found on the Moon, far higher than scientists ever suspected.
What's that, Charlie?
It's really some crater.
As you come around there, there's a rock in the near field on this rim that has some white on the top of it. We'd like you to pick it up as a grab sample.
This one right here?
That's it.
This one right here?
That's it. You got it right there.
Okay, we copy that.
There would be one more stop before they got back to the lunar module to close out this EVA. With Duke acting as photographer and Young as driver, they put the rover through a full test.
Man, you are really bouncing.
Is he on the ground at all? That's 10 kilometers.
Huh? He's got about 2 wheels on the ground. Okay, turn sharp.
I have no desire to turn sharp. Okay, here's the Sharpie.
Hey, that's great. He's a big rooster tail out of all 4 wheels. And as he turns, he skids, the back end breaks loose just like on snow. Come on back, John. Hey, the deck is running. Man, I'll tell you, Indy's never seen a driver like this. Okay, when he hits the craters and starts bouncing, it's when he gets his rooster tail. He makes sharp turns.
Then it was back to their lunar base, activate experiments, and close out EVA-1.
Be wise exercise, is that right? Physical fitness, gym level?
Hey, that's right. Please don't take pictures of the hot dogs. Showing the low residue, high protein diet.
On Earth, the scientists took a break. Tomorrow would be another busy day. April 22nd.
The lunar surface temperature in the sun should be around 135 degrees today.
Today they were headed a little over 4 kilometers south to climb their rover up the side of Stone Mountain.
Man, we are really going up a hill, I'll tell you.
Their first station, a crater 700 feet above their lunar module.
Wow, what a place. What a view, isn't it, John? It's absolutely unreal. We really come up here, Tony. It's just spectacular. I have never seen it. All I can say is spectacular, and I know y'all are sick of that word, but my vocabulary is so limited.
Let's see what we could do. If we got to break soil, we got certainly something. We could go to one-man sampling and maybe do it.
They would make a total of 6 stops on this traverse, collecting samples from large rocks down through the intermediates to the smallest soil particles. They would operate experiments measuring the strength of local magnetic fields to measuring the resistance of the soil to compaction.
3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, read that again. Get the shadow.
How far away is that crater?
There you go. Man, we come a long way. Hey, John, it's easier to go straight across. That was fun. Well, I haven't had any trouble. Okay. I have a tough time walking up there.
The sampling time used up, it was time to return to the rover and head back to the lunar module.
And they did it in 2 minutes less travel time than they were
10 minutes
pre-planned. Fantastic.
Tony, how about an extension, you guys? We feeling good? If Dad all we're going to do tonight was sit around and talk.
But with the limited oxygen and water in the backpacks, it was finally time to close out EVA-2.
Okay.
Now I think they realize that it's not more, well, a gee whiz, like my friend said, thrill, but it's real exploration, and this is much more serious and much more important for the future of mankind than just a plain exploit, a technical or technological exploit. This is exploration.
Ray Bradbury claims that what mankind sees in the exploration of space is his first chance at immortality since he invented religion.
April 23rd. The decision had been made not to try and fix the broken heat flow experiment because of the time and complexities involved. Traverse number 3. Today, Young and Duke would head north about 5 kilometers to North Ray Crater, the largest lunar crater to be sampled by men.
Outstanding.
Hey, Tony, it seems to me this is a more subdued surface over here than going towards South Ray. Oh, spectacular. Just spectacular. Wow. Sorry, Charlie. Beautiful. I got to keep my eye on the driving. That's great.
Jack, that's a good point to remember. All 3 crews now tend to think they're there before they get there.
I remember.
Man, does this thing have steep walls. They said 60 degrees. Now, I tell you, I can't see to the bottom of it, and I'm as close to the edge as I'm going to get. That's the truth.
Now the routine, if anything on the moon can be called that. Test, collect, photograph. Keep moving. Time is precious on the moon.
Crater, they look like drill holes is what they look like. You do that in West Texas and you get a rattlesnake. Here you get permanently shattered soil.
How about rolling that one over?
No way.
Then, one of the most spectacular discoveries of the mission.
Look at the size of that biggie. It is a biggie, isn't it? It may be further away than we think. No, it's not very far. It was just right beyond you.
And we better press on for the big boulder.
Okay, we're headed that way. You get the tongs, John? Yep. I'll carry the rake.
That big black dot.
Fantastic. Like right here.
If we could see to the bottom, we could say for sure if this big black rock is right out of the bottom. But my guess from the old photographs is it probably is.
Okay, that sounds like a good guess.
God, you mean they weren't at it? No.
It looked like they were standing right there.
Look at the size of that rock.
Curious what they're going to look like when they stand next to it.
We can see. The closer I get to it, the bigger it is. Yeah, but look at the permanent shadowed part, Charlie. On this side over here? Yeah.
And as our crew slowly sinks, we bet upon
Disappeared into the sunset.
Well, Tony, that's your house rock right there.
Very good.
Don't get too near the edge of that thing. It falls off. Look over at your right. It falls off pretty good. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Keep going. Can't believe it. I can't even. Okay, let's go on back. I am. Be right with you.
And we encourage you just to look for some variety.
But now it was time to head back to their base and close out the EVA.
All right, we think you could just about head south now.
Yeah, the only reason.
That's it. We're going, home again, jiggity jig.
During the previous EVA, a section of a rear fender had come off the rover, causing the astronauts to receive occasional showers of lunar dirt.
And that's a beautiful sight.
Young parked the rover, then moved out to join Duke, enter the lunar module, and prepare for liftoff.
Boy, Houston, the beauty of this place is just absolutely incredible.
Smile, FAO. Don't be mad. We'll get it up there. See how nice and leisurely it's been? That's the way it should be, getting ready for ascent.
10 seconds.
What a ride, what a ride. Pitch-over's on time.
Together in orbit, the two spacecraft pirouetted, each inspecting the other.
This is one of the fastest maneuvers I've made in a long time.
The inspections complete, the command module and lunar module maneuvered to docking. John Young, Ken Mattingly, and Charlie Duke, reunited aboard the command module, settled down for tomorrow's tasks. Jettison the lunar module and burn out of orbit to come home. April 25. Ken Mattingly left the confines of the command module cabin, 173,000 miles from Earth. As he orbited the moon, he had not only made visual observations, he had been operating a complex series of experiments. Many of these had returned instant data to Houston. Two had taken thousands of high-resolution pictures of the lunar terrain. Now, Mattingly retrieved the film canisters and made his way back to the cabin with them, as Charlie Duke stood in the hatch to help him. It had been quite a mission. In John Young's words,
I think we've seen as much in 10 days as most people see in 10 lifetimes.
April 27, the last day. The crew looked out their windows through the 5,000-degree fireball of re-entry at their native planet.
That is beautiful, isn't it?
Now they're blooming. Beautiful. Beautiful. There they are. Beautiful. 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 Apollo Control Houston. An observer on the Ticonderoga estimates the distance from the ship about 1 mile.
Just got it on in cover. There you go, Joe. Now.
You saw an example of goal-oriented teamwork in action. The kind of thing that made this country great and the kind of thing that's going to keep it that way.
A real smooth shot. Every bit of it, Jerry. You brought him in beautifully. Well done, young man. Outstanding.
I cannot touch that cigar anymore. I cannot.
I told them they're going to improve the skyline. We're in trouble. Mike, congratulations. Well done.
Yeah, we get one more.
Well done.
One more to go.
I just hope.
Three hours later, the Apollo Command Module moves forward to extract the lunar module from the third stage of the launch vehicle. Both are moving at more than 17,000 miles an hour. Docked together, they will sail 250,000 miles across the sea of space and into orbit around the Earth's nearest neighbor.
Oh, loud and clear now, Mike, and we understand that you are docked.
During the three-day journey to the moon, the astronauts kept busy. Checklists, navigation and observation, housekeeping. They must work in a weightless environment, keeping their spacecraft and themselves in good condition. Data must be collected and reported. Experiments must be performed, including photography both inside and outside the spacecraft. Because of the film speed, these actions appear faster than they actually were. July 19th. Apollo 11 slows down and goes into orbit around the moon. The bright blue planet of Earth now lies 238,000 miles beyond the lunar horizon. Astronauts Armstrong and Aldrin, now in the lunar module, separate from the command module. Astronaut Collins remains behind. Preparation for the lunar module descent to the moon now begins. The command module assumes the new name, Columbia. The lunar module will be called the Eagle. From Columbia, Michael Collins' camera sees bright rays of the sun reflecting patterns of color from the surface of the Eagle. In this strange metallic bird rides the ancient and endless dream of all mankind. The command pilot can see detail which his camera cannot record. The 4 landing pads of the lunar module are fully extended and locked in place. The Eagle is poised and prepared for its descent to the lunar surface. The moon landing craft rocket engine fires to slow it down and to place it on the pathway to the landing site in the Sea of Tranquility. There is tension and caution as the Eagle flies lower. Warning lights blink on as the computer tries to keep up with the demand for control data, but the status remains go.
Eagle, we got you now. It's looking good, over.
Roger, copy.
Eagle, Houston, after yaw round, angles, S-band pitch, -9er, yaw. Roger, you're a go to continue power descent. You're a go to continue power descent.
Altitude now 21,000 feet, still looking very good. Velocity down now to 1,200 feet per second.
You're looking great to us, Eagle.
Give us a reading on the 1202 program alarm.
Roger, we got you. We're going at alarm.
Good radar data. We're now in the approach phase. Everything looking good. Altitude 4,200.
Houston, you're a go for landing, over.
Roger, understand. Go for landing. 3,000 feet. Program alarm.
Altitude 1,600. 1,400 feet, still looking very good.
700 feet, 21 down. 33 degrees. 100 feet down at 19. 1201.
1201. Roger, 1201 alarm. We're go. Same type. We're go.
Altitude, velocity light. 3.5 down. 220 feet. 13 forward. 11 forward, coming down nicely. 200 feet. 4.5 down. 5.5 down.
60 seconds.
Lights on. 6. Down 2.5. Forward. Forward. That's 40 feet down 2.5. Picking up some dust. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drifting to the right a little. That's okay. Contact light. Okay, engine stop.
We copy you down, Eagle.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Through the window of the Eagle, Armstrong and Aldrin see what no human eyes have ever seen before. Their spacecraft casts a long shadow across the undisturbed dust of centuries. Seven hours after landing, after careful preparations for later ascent were completed, Armstrong opens the Eagle hatch and begins his climb down to the surface. The first footsteps on this strange new world must be taken cautiously. The moon has only 1/6 the gravity of Earth. The nature of its surface was still unknown.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Once on the surface, Armstrong scoops up a small sample of lunar dust and rock, precaution against the possibility of an emergency takeoff. According to plan, astronaut Aldrin now descends from the Eagle. He and his equipment would weigh 383 pounds on Earth. Here, they weigh about 66 pounds. For a brief moment, the first men on the moon stand and look at the stark, lonely landscape around them, an experience which no one before them can share. But there is much to be done in the limited time which they can stay on this airless, cloudless satellite of Earth. This sheet of metal foil traps and holds particles from the sun, the so-called solar wind, or barrage of solar energy, which constantly strikes the moon's surface. Results of this experiment will be taken back to Earth to reveal new secrets to anxious scientists. An American flag is left behind on the moon, together with medals honoring American and Soviet spacemen who lost their lives in earlier space tests, and a small disc carrying messages of goodwill from 73 nations on Earth. A plaque on the lunar module reads, "Here, men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind." Through a specially made television camera, viewers in many nations on Earth were able to watch the astronauts as they walked and worked on the moon. Despite the bulky spacesuits and the backpacks containing oxygen, temperature control, and communications equipment, the Apollo 11 crew found they could move easily about the surface. Because there is no wind or rain on the moon, these footprints will remain for centuries. In addition to collecting rock and soil samples, the explorers leave behind a seismometer. This highly sensitive device would send back valuable information on external meteoroid impacts, as well as internal lunar movements. A 100-prism laser reflector would help man to measure the exact distance from Earth to Moon to an accuracy of 6 inches. These were the first of many experiments which will be taken to the Moon to provide man continuing and increasing knowledge about the Moon and the vastness of space beyond. After 2 hours and 31 minutes, the first lunar explorers had completed their research on the Moon. A night of rest in the lunar module, countdown preparations, and they were ready to come home.
Tranquility Base, Houston. Guidance recommendation is pings, and you're cleared for takeoff. Roger.
Roger, understand. We're number 1 on the runway. 7, 6, 5, port stage, engine arm S in. Beautiful. Very smooth. Very quiet ride. There's that one crater on there.
Feet high, 80 feet per second vertical rise.
Eagle Houston, you're looking good at 2. Ping, zags, and mid-spin all agree. I'm going right down US 1. Eagle Houston, going right down the track. Everything's great.
Horizontal velocity approaching 2,500 feet per second.
Roger.
Some 120 miles to go until insertion.
July 21st. The Eagle and its 2-man crew lifted off the moon perfectly and climbed slowly to rendezvous and dock with the mothership, Columbia. While Armstrong and Aldrin explored the moon, astronaut Collins had kept a long and lonely vigil in the Columbia. The approaching Eagle was a welcome sight. Later, the 3 men would share their reflections on this adventure with the world.
I believe that from the early space flights, we demonstrated a potential to carry out this type of a mission. And again, it was a question of time until this would be accomplished.
I think it's a technical triumph for this country to have said what it was going to do a number of years ago, and then, by golly, do it.
The relative ease with which we were able to carry out our mission, which, of course, came after a very efficient and a logical sequence of flights, I think that this demonstrated that we were certainly on the right track when we took this commitment to go to the moon.
I just see it as a beginning of a new age.
Once again, the bright blue planet of Earth rises over the lunar horizon. For those who had witnessed man's landing in the Sea of Tranquility, the moon would never again appear quite the same. July 24th, dawn in the Pacific. Apollo blazes across the heavens, coming back to Earth at 25,000 miles an hour. President Richard Nixon, who had talked with the astronauts by telephone while they were on the moon, was waiting aboard the recovery carrier to welcome the returning voyagers. The president later expressed the nation's response to this historic mission.
Some way, when those two Americans stepped on the moon, the people of this world were brought closer together. That it is that spirit, the spirit of Apollo, that America can now help to bring to our relations with other nations. The spirit of Apollo transcends geographical barriers and political differences. It can bring the people of the world together in peace.
To protect against any possible lunar contamination, the astronauts put on airtight special garments before coming aboard the rescue ship. They transferred directly from the helicopter to a mobile quarantine van, in which they would be flown back to the Manned Spacecraft Center in Houston, Texas. July 27th. The journey was ended. They were home again. Ahead lay 3 weeks of isolation, medical tests, and mission debriefings. Then visits to major cities of America and abroad. The details of their unique mission would be relived and remembered so that others might learn what they had learned, and that future travelers in space might build upon their experience. The rock and soil samples brought back would be examined and analyzed by scientists in many lands. They would reveal new insights into the origin and the age and the composition of the moon, and perhaps new knowledge of the Earth as well. Already experiments left on the moon were sending back revealing new information. The mission was successfully completed. The Eagle had landed the first men on the moon, and Columbia had returned them safely to Earth. Wherever man journeys tomorrow across the ocean of our universe, history will remind him that Apollo 11 was mankind's first encounter with a new world.
11, Houston. Buzz, you still looking for that 90-degree bracket, over?
He is looking for it now.
Roger, we'll have a word for you in just a moment.
My monitor shows a pretty good, clear picture from this angle. Now we found the 90-degree bracket.
Roger, Neil. It's really a super picture. We've got the ACA, your ACA, the good picture of the throttle, the 90-degree bracket. We see the start, your handles, and now over to the bracket.
That's about the position we'll be putting the camera in after the initial descent down the ladder. And it'll be taking 1 frame a second for most of the EVA.
Houston copies out. That's a real good view of that camera.
Our monitor is a little bit wavy, so it's hard for us to tell when we've got a steady picture for you.
11, we have no complaints at all. We don't see that waviness on our picture. It's just really great, over.
Do the edges of the window look like straight lines to you?
That's affirmative.
Okay, they don't in our monitor, and that leads us to make some corrections to the camera, which probably aren't required sometimes.
We have no complaints at all. It's a magnificent picture. What was that, Buzz, you're chasing down?
That was me picking up some particles of paint that were floating through the air in front of the camera there.
Right, Neil, we got it. Appears to us that Neil's about to check the Velcro map there. Okay, Buzz, we see the card up now.
Okay, for those of you that don't know, this is where we log most of our data for each of the land maneuvers. And we have another card like this that's the timeline book that we placed down on the table in front of the data and display keyboard. And it's on this timeline that we have all our procedures. We obviously have to hold these in place in 0G, so we make use of the Velcro patches on the back and on the table. So we can attach these down here. And then we just turn the pages over when we go to new sequences in our timeline of procedures.
Roger.
And we're ready to copy DOI pad.
Right, we'll have the photos work that one up for you momentarily. Houston, that was a good shot of panel 2. Now we got panel 3 in view with the temp monitor switch. The stabilization and control panel we see now with the mode control switches. Now over to the rendezvous radar. Real good. That's real good camera work.
Probably the most unusual position a cameraman's ever had, hanging by his toes from a tunnel and taking a picture upside down.
Roger, well, you're doing a super job. We got a good view of the cross pointer there. We had a good view of the tape meter.
We're giving you a picture now of the floor of the cabin. I think you can see the one of the two portable life support systems backpacks here in the center. And on each side we have the two helmet visors. I'll remove one of them and show you a little closer view of what this looks like.
Roger.
Inside the helmet visors are the EVA gloves with the blue tips. I'll not take those out now.
Roger, but that's a great shot now that we're getting of the helmet, of the EVA visor, and also the EVA gloves in the background.
Okay, you did say this was going out now, didn't you?
Stand by, I think so. You got a pretty big audience. It's live in the U.S., it's going live to Japan, Western Europe, and much of South America. Everybody reports very good color. Appreciate the great show.
Roger, understand. Thank you.
that was a good demonstration of your EVA visor assembly. Appreciate it. Al, that's a good view of Mr. Collins down there. We finally see him again.
Hello there, Earthling.
Hello there. Hi, 11 Houston. We noticed when you were scanning over panel 2 a moment ago, 1 and 2, the 2 8 balls were slightly in disagreement. Control said he'd like to ag the line there.
Yeah, one of them dags, one of them sings. The problem is we don't know whether the line eggs the pings or pings the eggs.
Stand by. Hi, 11. Chris said he can tell you.
We'll gauge them both.
Right.
I go home, Mick Charlie, to get back in the limb again.
Fine. I can imagine.
The traverse from the bottom of the limb to the aft bulkhead of the command module must be about 16, 20 feet. It's not a disorienting one at all, but it's most interesting to contemplate just pushing off from one and bounding on into the other vehicle all the way through the tunnel.
Right, must be some experience. Is Collins going to go in and look around?
We're willing to let him go, but he hasn't come up with the price of the ticket yet.
Right. I'd advise him to keep his hands off the switches.
If I can get him to keep your hands off my disc, he'll be a fair swap.
Roger.
That's why I've been eating so much today. I haven't had anything to do. He won't let me touch it anymore.
Right. 11, Houston, if that's not the Earth, we're in trouble.
That's the Earth, and we have a very good view of it today. There are a few more cloud bands on than yesterday when we beamed down to you, but it's a beautiful sight. We have some horizontal banding in our TV monitor. Are we transmitting that to you, or do you have a clear picture?
Neil, we have a very clear picture. The only thing that we see is a little white dot in the bottom of our screen, which is our TV guys say is an apparently a burned out spot in the camera, but it should come back. Over.
Roger. We have that in our monitor also.
Houston, we do have 3 lines across our TV. I thought it was just a transmission problem, but everybody's telling me now that it probably is on the downlink. Over.
Now, those are the same 3 ones that we have.
Okay.
How far out are we now, Charlie?
Stand by, I'll give you an exact figure.
You can notice the difference between yesterday and today. This is as large an image as we can give you.
Roger, it's distinctly smaller. You're now 177,000 miles out. Over.
Anything? That's nautical miles.
That's affirmative. 11 weeks. Go ahead, over. Houston, we see still see the banding along the intertropical convergence. I guess the most predominant one is around the equator, or slightly north of the equator.
Yeah, that's the way it looks, Charlie. Same as yesterday.
Right.
Keep the Pacific Ocean nice and clear and calm on Flag Day. That's all we had. And Charlie, I'd like to say hello to all my fellow scouts and scatters at Farragut State Park in Idaho. They're having a national jamboree there this week, and Apollo 11 would like to send them best wishes.
Thank you, Apollo 11. I'm sure that if they didn't hear that, they will get the word through the news. Certainly appreciate that.
Huh?
Houston, we have you, your spacecraft point is just off the western coast of South America, directly south of about Mexico City, Owen.
That looks like what we observed from here. And we're going to turn our TV monitor off now for a short bit while we have some other work to do. Apollo 11 signing off.
Apollo 11, this is Houston, over.
Apollo 11, are you picking up our signal? Okay.
Apollo 11, this is Houston, affirmative. We're reading you loud and clear on voice, and we have a good, clear TV picture, a little bright crater in the bottom of the picture. I guess that's the spot on the tube.
I'm sorry about that one.
And if you could give us poo and accept, we'll uplink a new state vector and target load to you.
Okay. Houston, Apollo 11. One of the larger craters on the back side, I noticed a small dark speck on the outer wall. And putting a monocular on it, I was able to see an area maybe a quarter of a mile in diameter. It was a really fresh-looking, dark-colored pit. That seems to be in contrast with all the other fresh little craters or holes that you can perceive on the walls of any of these craters. Around this particular one, there seems to be two or three of these, especially the one that caught my attention. It's quite remarkable.
Roger, do you have a location on that one?
No, not a precise one. I've got several pictures.
Oh, Roger, we copy. Now we're getting a beautiful picture in down here now, 11. The color's coming in quite clearly, and we can see the horizon and the relative blackness of space. And without getting into the question of grays and browns, it looks, at least on our monitor, sort of a brownish gray.
That's a good way of describing it. It appears to me as though it made a difference just sitting back in the tunnel and gazing at all windows. It makes a difference which one you're looking out of. For example, the camera right now is looking out the number 5 window, and it definitely gives a rosier or tanner tinge, especially when you look straight through it and not at an angle.
Roger.
GNC flight.
And we're about 95 or 100 degrees east, coming up on Flight C.
Still holding? Okay.
Say again, 11.
I say again, we're about 95 degrees east, coming up on Flight C.
Roger, and for your information, we show you at an altitude of about 92 miles above the surface right now.
Okay. Houston, Apollo 11. Did you observe a difference in the N2 pressures before LOI? It seems to me as though the two were not equal. And the
Stand by.
smaller B tank was, the lower
Yeah, I think that's right.
I'm flying it in FDS minimum info, Houston, and it's rather difficult to keep it on a constant theta. The LEM wants to wander up and down. I'm not sure in response to mass cons or what, but I can get it completely stabilized in theta and let it alone, and in another couple of minutes it will have developed its own rate.
This is Houston, roger.
Houston, we'll be moving shortly from the side window to the hatch window, and we'll try and pick up some of the landmarks that we'll be looking at as we approach our descent.
11, this is Houston, roger, and we're through with the uplink. Computer's yours. You can go to block, and we'll have the information on nitrogen for you shortly. Over.
Roger, copy. Okay, Houston, several minutes ago I was exactly steady on theta, and since then I have been moving toward the LEM pointed straight down towards the radius vector, and that's been despite a number of down minimum pitch impulses.
Roger.
We're over Smythe C right now.
Roger.
We're about 88 degrees east, I would estimate. But
We show you about south of the southwest of the crater Jansky right now.
my C doesn't look very much like a C. The area which is devoid of craters, and which is not very much, is sort of a hilly-looking area. It's not like a mare at all.
Roger, we copy that about the C, and looks like you were just giving us a view of the crater Nieper, the large crater on the left, and Jansky on the right.
We think you're close, but no cigar.
All right, 11, this is Houston. Would you care to comment on some of these craters as we go by?
Roger, we're approaching the approach path to ignition. This is equivalent to 13 minutes before ignition, and we're at about 80 degrees east, I guess. 83 degrees east. Would that correspond to location you're holding at present time?
Roger, we're showing your present position is about 77, 76 degrees east, looking back towards the east.
Hey, you should be looking back at my Zeno.
Roger.
All right, Houston, what you're seeing in the middle of the screen now is the crater Schubert. And Gilbert U is in the center right now. And this comes up at about a little over 12 minutes before power descent. Instead of looking back at it, we'd be looking straight down at it at that time.
Roger. And we show you an altitude now of about 110 miles. And of course, you'd be considerably lower at the initiation of power descent.
Okay, Houston, look at register 3 on the Disky theta. Theta is increasing toward my desired 315, and I'll let the hand controller alone here, and I'll bet you it reverses itself.
Roger 11, we're watching the Disky now, and still coming in beautifully on the TV.
Okay, there's on the right side of the screen at the present time, there's a triple crater with a small crater between the first and second, and the one at the bottom of the screen is Schubert Y. Zoom in, it does have a central peak in Schubert Y. Actually, several of them, and you can observe those. Plus the rim craters at the bottom of your screen.
Roger, we're seeing the central peak quite clearly now.
Okay, we're zooming in now on a crater called Schubert N. Schubert N, very conical inside wall, and the bottom appears to be nearly flat. Look at theta on the Disky. It's stabilized and is holding steady now.
Roger.
Looking out the window, I can see a number of small craters on the bottom of Schubert N. We're coming up on the foaming sea where I'll be doing some P-22 marking on a crater of my choice, name of Crater Camp.
Okay, we'll be watching for Camp.
And notice register 3 has reversed itself and it's heading back the other way now without any pitch thruster firing.
Roger, Mike. We confirm that you've changed the direction of your pitch rate.
Generally speaking, the tendency seems to be to pull the LEM down toward the center of the moon as in a gravity gradient experiment.
Roger 11, we copy.
It may have something to do with mass times, or it may...
Roger, we've gotten...
It may have something to do with mass cons, or it may just be the peculiarity of the disky display.
Okay, we've observed the behavior of your disky, and I think we've got the data here to work on it. Let us grind around a little while on it, and we'll report back to you probably in a rev or two.
Okay, well, in the meantime, I'm going to pitch down toward 315.
Roger.
Three horizontal craters that you now have in the field of view are immediately underneath the ground track. The right hand and the largest crater that you see is Dubiago P.
Roger, we concur on the identification of that crater. And we show you coming up on landmark Alpha 1 here shortly.
Roger, Mike 7, his first look at Alpha 1 at the present time. Yeah, there's a great bright crater. It's not a large one, but an extremely bright one. It looks like a very recent, and I would guess, impact crater with rays streaming out in all directions, which should make my correction of foaming sea easy to see coming up on it. Now, Crater Camp is one of the smaller ones out on the floor of the foaming sea.
Okay, we show you over the Sea of Fertility now, and ought to have Langrenus down south of track a few degrees, about 9 degrees south of track.
Yeah, the crater that's in the center of the screen now is Webb. We'd be looking straight down on it at about 6 minutes before power descent. It has a relatively flat bottom to the crater, and you can see maybe 2 or 3 craters that are in the bottom of it. On the western wall, the wall that's now nearest to the camera, or near the bottom of the screen, we can see a dimpled crater just on the outside. And then coming back toward the bottom of the screen and to the left, you can see a series of depressions. It's the type of connected craters that give us most interest to discover why they're in the particular patterns that they're in. I'll zoom the camera in and try and give you a little closer look at this.
Roger, we're observing the dimple crater now. The central peak that we can see on the orbiter photos doesn't seem to stand out very well here.
Well, they're not central peaks, they're depressions in the center.
Roger.
And you'll notice on the pitch vector activity, I put in a dozen minimum impulses and pitched down, and I'm still far from correcting back 315. We're moving the camera over to the right window now to give you Langrenus with its several central peaks. And,
Roger, we got Langrenus in our screen now. Okay, 11, this is Houston. We're getting a beautiful picture of Langrenus now with its rather conspicuous central peak.
Sea of Fertility doesn't look very fertile to me. I don't know who named it. Well, it may have been named by a gentleman whom this crater was named after, Langrenus. Langrenus was a cartographer to the King of Spain and made one of the early reasonably accurate maps of the moon.
Roger, that's very interesting.
I'll have to admit it sounds better for our purposes than the Sea of Crises.
Amen to that. Okay, it looks like you're coming inside now on the camera.
Well, I can't get behind to see the monitor. I'll bring the focus in, but we're going to be looking down past one of the LEM quads, and one of the antennas almost straight down at the ground track that we'll be seeing coming in. Now, I guess this is maybe 2 or 3 minutes before power descent. All right, that should put the LEM structure about in focus. I'm going to move it out to infinity and then expand the field of view. Crater Secchi is out my window now, window number 2.
Apollo 11, this is Houston. We show you coming up on the Terminator at 78:53, about 7 minutes from now. And we've also got the LOI-2 and TEI-5 pads ready for you after the TV, whenever you want to terminate over.
Roger.
And we're getting a good view of the track leading into the landing site now. Okay, it looks like we got Secchi K go by about 10 seconds ago, coming up on Apollo Ridge. And in the right-hand portion of our screen right now, we can see Messier, Alpha, and Bravo with the light-colored rays streaming off in one direction.
I don't know if you can make out, but in the Sea of Fertility, there are a number of craters that are just barely discernible. Old craters whose outlines are just barely able to be seen.
Roger, I think we can make them out. The color really enhances our ability to discern features and craters over what we see in real time on our black and white monitor.
Right. At these low sun angles, there's no trace of brown. It's now returned to a very gray appearance, and like the acreage does, it has a look of plaster of Paris to it at this sun angle, which is completely lacking at higher sun angles.
Roger.
Okay, this is very close to ignition point for power descent. Just passing Mount Maryland. That's a triangular-shaped mountain that you see in the center of the screen at the present time, with the crater Secchi Theta on top of the far northern edge of the mountain.
Roger, we're getting a good view of Mount Maryland and of Secchi Theta. Roger, we're getting a good view of Mount Maryland and of Secchi Theta.
And now we're looking at what we call Boot Hill. There's 20 seconds into the descent. The bright, sharp-rimmed crater at the very right edge of the screen, Censorinus T. Now passing the 1 minute point in power descent.
Roger, and for your information, your current altitude is 148 nautical miles above the surface.
I'm unable to determine altitude at all looking out the window. I couldn't tell whether we're down at 60 or up at 170.
I bet you could tell if you were down at 50,000 feet.
I wouldn't be surprised.
We're passing some steep ridges here, the edges of old craters that were photographed by Apollo 10, and the crew of Apollo 10 was very impressed with the steepness of these ridges when they came over them at about 50,000 feet.
So, Roger, we can observe they're also steep even from this altitude. You've got quite a shadow being cast by the sun at these low angles.
The entire surface is getting considerably darker than the surface that we looked at previously when the sun was quite high above us. The crater in the bright crater in the center of the screen, the smaller one, is Censorinus.
Roger, and we show you a little over 1 minute from the terminator at the present time.
How's the brightness of the picture you're receiving? I think we ought to open up the f-stop some as we approach the terminator.
Yeah, the brightness is still doing quite well. You can go ahead and open it up a stop or two. The automatic light level compensation seems to be working beautifully.
That's a good picture of Boot Hill.
Roger.
3 minutes and 15 seconds into the descent.
Roger, we're seeing Boot Hill now.
And the next crater coming into the bottom, that's Duke Island right there, and to the left, the crater, the largest of the crater near the center of the picture right now is Masterlin W. This is a position check during descent at about 3 minutes and 39 seconds, and it's our downrange position check and cross-range position check prior to going over face up to acquire the landing radar. Past landing area.
Roger, I imagine you get a real good look at that tomorrow afternoon.
Sinuous rail is the one that was referred to in Apollo 10 as Sidewinder. Good name, too. Sidewinder Diamondback. Looks like a couple of snakes down there in the lake bed. And we're approaching the Terminator now. You can see the contrast increase, and only the sunlit side of the bridges remain illuminated, while the dark sides in the shadow will become completely black.
11, this is Houston. The picture is getting a little grainy now. You might go ahead and open up the f-stop.
Landing point is just barely into darkness. That one crater, the upper part of which you see, lower part completely in darkness. A small, well-defined crater is multi, which is about a beam of the landing site.
So, Roger, we can just see it looks like a little less than half of its rim right now. And we can make out just barely some features on the surface, maybe from Earthshine. Are you wide open on the f-stop at this time?
Where we are. Yeah, and it looks like we're just about to get the sun coming into the lens, so we'll have to move the camera away.
Roger.
We can't see any Earthshine or any surface features at all in Earthshine now due to the fact that the lamp is very bright and is causing our pupils to contract. It's a very fantastic view to see the Terminator as you look along the edge of it. I think you'll agree that some of these craters that you're seeing in the picture now are really accentuated by the lengthening of the shadows as they approach the Terminator.
Yes, it's a very beautiful and rugged sight that we've got on the screen now.
I think you got some interesting data on thruster firings versus pitch angle. It looks like that limb just wants to head down toward the surface is all.
Roger, I have a comment here that says that's what the limb was built for.
I believe. And as the moon sinks slowly in the west, Apollo 11 bids good day to you.
1202. 1202.
Good radar data. Altitude now 33,500 feet.
Hal wasn't too far off.
I suspect that Hal may be just about right by the time Doug Ward relays that to us, so he's probably a few seconds behind.
Yeah. Roger, we got you. We're going at alarm.
Roger, B30.
6 plus 25, throttle down. 6 plus 25, throttle down.
Roger, copy. 6 plus 25.
We're still go. Altitude 27,000 feet.
Same alarm, and it appears to come up when we have a 1668 up.
Roger, copy.
What's this alarm, Wally?
It's a go case.
Eagle, Houston, we'll monitor your Delta 8.
Beautifully.
Function that's coming up on the computer.
Delta 8 looks good now. Roger, Delta 8 is looking good to us.
The verb-noun combination, no problem as I see it.
Throttle on time.
Roger, copy, throttle down.
Throttle down. Better in the simulator.
Right.
They say it's better than the simulator. That's consoling.
Things look real close.
Crowds around this country and all over the world are watching this, listening to these communications.
Altitude now 21,000 feet, still looking very good.
We are. This is the International Arrivals Building, Kennedy Airport, with a big display board there.
Velocity down now to 1,200 feet per second.
You're looking great,
Disneyland in California.
Okay, I'm still on flu, so we may tend to lose as we gradually pitch over. Let me try auto again now, see what happens.
Roger.
He's talking about the high gain antenna.
Okay, looks like it's holding.
Roger, we got good data.
Makes the job easier.
They're down to just 14 miles to go and 4.5 minutes.
7 minutes, 30 seconds into the burn.
4.5 minutes left in this era.
Altitude 16,300 feet.
Oh, boy.
This great the way the communications is
Houston,
working.
it's descent to fuel to monitor, over.
22.
Altitude 13,005. Velocity
Going down
91 feet per second.
Made it switch over time, please, Houston.
Roger, stand by. You're looking great at 8 minutes.
Correction on that velocity, now reading 760 feet per second.
It's the P-64.
Good.
760 feet per second on the way down. That's pretty slow for space flying.
It is. It's as slow as man has ever flown in space.
It sure is.
Vital says we're go. Altitude 9,200 feet.
8:30, you're looking great.
They're just about
Descent rate 129 feet
approaching
per
high
second.
gate.
We copy.
That's 7,600 foot level. 1.4 miles high when they get down to a speed of 98 miles an hour, and they're just a little under 5 miles from the landing site. At that point, they can pitch forward, get a really good view of the
Eagle, you're
landing
looking
site.
great. Coming up 9 minutes.
That's that high
We're
gate.
now in the approach phase. Everything looking good.
As they're inside the high
Altitude
gate.
5,200 feet.
5,200 feet, less than a mile from the moon's surface.
Manual attitude control is good.
Roger, copy.
Altitude 4,200.
Houston, you're a go for landing, over.
Oh, great go.
Roger, understand. Go for landing. 3,000 feet. Time alarm.
3,000 feet. Ooh. All the landing, meaning they're on their spot, huh?
Roger, 1201 alarm. We're go. Same tide. We're go.
2,000 feet. 2,000 feet. Into the ag. 47 degrees.
Roger.
37 degrees.
Just these communications, too. We're getting this readout perfect.
Eagle looking great. You're go.
Altitude 1,600.
Oh, this is...
They've got a good look at their site now. This is the critical time. They're going to hover. They're going to make a decision. Apparently they're low, though.
1202. We copy it.
35 degrees. 35 degrees. 750. Coming down to 23. 700 feet, 21 down. 33 degrees.
Oh, the data is coming in beautiful.
100 feet down to 19. 540 feet down to 30. Down to 15. And 400 feet down to 9. Skate forward. 150 feet down at 4. 30 and a half down. They're pegged on horizontal velocity. 300 feet down, 3.5. 47 forward. Put up. On 1 minute. 1.5 down. 70. Epic shadow up there. 50 down at 2.5. 19 forward. Altitude, velocity, light. 8.5 down. 220 feet. 15 forward. 11 forward, coming down nicely. 200 feet. 4.5 down. 5.5 down. 160 feet. 6.5 down. 5.5 down. 9 forward. Good. 20 feet. 100 feet, 3.5 down, 9 forward. 5%. How many bite?
Okay, 75 feet. Car's looking good, down a half. 6 forward.
60 seconds.
Lights on. 6. Down 2.5. Forward. Forward. Good. 40 feet, down 2.5. Picking up some dust. 30 feet, 2.5 down. Straight shadow. 4 forward. 4 forward, drift into the right a little. 6, down a half.
30 seconds.
Forward, drift. Good. 8. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. ACA at a descent. Mode control, both auto, descent engine command override off. Engine arm off.
We're home.
413 is in.
Man on the moon.
We copy you down, Eagle.
Houston,
Oh, jeez.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
Ooh. Oh, boy.
Thank you.
You're looking good here.
Boy.
Okay, we're going to be busy for a minute. Master arm on. Take care of the descent. I'll get this up prepared.
Wally, say something. I'm speechless.
I'm just trying to hold on to my breath. That is really something.
Very smooth touchdown.
Kind of nice to be aboard on this one, isn't it?
You know, we've been wondering what this guy Armstrong and all of them would say. They stepped foot on the moon, which comes a little bit later now. And just to hear them do it, we're left here absolutely with dry mouths and speechless.
Hey, it looks like we're mending the exercise enough.
Roger, Eagle, and you are safe for T1. Over. Eagle, you are safe for T1.
Roger. And we see him safe for T1.
Roger, and we see you venting the ox.
Roger.
It's a great simulation of what you can see there, if you could see us.
That little fly speck is supposed to be a lens.
Gee, they must be in a perfect position, upright. We've heard no complaints about their position. They landed right in.
Just a little dust. Even that concern was erased.
Wow. And there they sit on the moon. Just exactly nominal, wasn't it? Exactly as a flight plan all the way down. Man planning this thing on the surface of the earth. My God. We've done it.
That's funny, too.
Copy, now 60, now 43.
Roger, we have